I thought marriage meant loyalty, commitment, choosing each other every single day. But what I learned is that some people will never stop choosing themselves, no matter how much it destroys you. When I met him, he was magnetic. He had this way of making me feel like I was the only woman in the room. He said all the right things about soulmates, about building a future, about how he had never loved anyone the way he loved me. And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. The first time I caught him cheating, I thought it was a mistake. I found messages on his phone, sweet nothings sent to another woman at 2 a.m. My stomach dropped, my hands shook, and when I confronted him, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're overreacting. She's just a friend. Why are you so insecure?" I remember standing there with the proof in my hand, screenshots of words no man should be sending another woman, and still he managed to twist it. He made me feel crazy for even questioning him. By the end of the argument, I was the one apologizing for snooping, for not trusting him enough. That was the beginning of the cycle. It happened again and again. Different women, different lies. Sometimes I would find lipstick on his shirt. Sometimes I'd smell perfume on his clothes. And every single time he had an excuse. "You're imagining things. You're paranoid. You need to stop being so dramatic." He was a master at gaslighting. He could look me in the face after coming home at 3 in the morning and say, "I was with the guys? Don't you trust me?" And somehow, I would swallow the lump in my throat and force myself to nod, even though my gut screamed otherwise. The emotional abuse cut deeper than the cheating itself. Every time I tried to hold him accountable, he turned it around on me. He told me I was boring, that I didn't make him feel desired, that if I were more exciting, he wouldn't need to look elsewhere. He chipped away at my self-worth piece by piece until I genuinely believed I wasn't enough for him. I started changing myself to keep him. I dressed differently. I wore more makeup. I laughed louder at his jokes. I even tried to act like I didn't care when he stayed out late, just so he wouldn't call me clingy. But none of it mattered. No matter what I did, it was never enough to stop him from chasing someone else. The worst part wasn't just the cheating. It was the lies he told me to keep me tethered to him. After every fight, after every tear, he'd pull me into his arms and whisper, "You're my only one. Those other women don't mean anything. It's just you. It's always been you." And I wanted to believe him so badly. I wanted the fairy tale I thought I had married. But what I had married was a monster in disguise. A man addicted to breaking promises, addicted to seeing how far he could push before I finally broke. The breaking point came one night when he left his phone unlocked. I saw conversations with 3 different women, all of them believing they were the only one. He had told each of them the same words he told me. "You're the love of my life. I want to marry you. You're my future." I sat on the bathroom floor that night, shaking, reading those messages over and over until the words blurred. That was when the truth hit me. It was never about me. It was never about my worth. It was about his need to conquer, to manipulate, to take without ever giving back. I left him, but not before I had to piece myself back together. Not before I had to relearn that love isn't supposed to feel like constant doubt. That real love doesn't make you feel small, paranoid, or unworthy. When you marry a monster, sometimes the wounds aren't physical. Sometimes they're invisible, the kind that eat away at your trust, your confidence, your ability to ever feel safe in love again. But I survived him. I may carry scars you can't see, but I survived. And if you're listening to this, and you're with someone who makes you feel crazy for asking for the bare minimum, respect, honesty, loyalty, I need you to hear me. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who falls for a younger man. I was 43, divorced, with 2 grown kids out of the house. I wasn't even looking for love. But then I met him, Marcus. He was 26, charming, handsome, with this energy that made me feel alive again. For the first time in years, I felt seen, wanted, and desired. He made me feel young again. He would text me every morning with "Good morning, beautiful." and every night with sweet dreams. Love. He told me age didn't matter, that I was the most amazing woman he'd ever met. I didn't realize it at the time, but he was studying me. Studying what I wanted to hear, what I needed to feel. At first, everything was magical. He'd take me out dancing, he'd cook me dinner at my place, he even talked about building a future together. He knew I had some savings and a stable job, and he would always slip little comments like, "One day we'll open a business together," or, "You're the kind of woman I'd build an empire with." The first time he asked for money, it didn't feel like a red flag. He said his car broke down, and he needed a quick loan to fix it so he could get to work. I gave it to him without hesitation. That was just the beginning. Slowly, the requests became bigger. Rent he was behind on. A business investment. His mom was sick. Each time, he had tears in his eyes, or he would hold me close and whisper how lucky he was to have me, how no one had ever cared for him like I did. I thought I was helping the man I loved. I thought I was building our future. But soon, things started changing. The man who once showered me with affection started becoming cold, distant. He would disappear for days, and when I confronted him, he'd gaslight me. He'd say, "You're too insecure. You don't trust me. That's your problem, not mine." Then I started noticing things missing around my house. A gold necklace my mother had given me, cash from my purse, even my credit card, which I later found out he used without my permission. When I questioned him, he would flip it on me, accusing me of being controlling, of treating him like a child. He knew exactly how to make me doubt myself. The emotional abuse was worse than the stealing. He knew I was afraid of being alone again. He would remind me of it whenever I stood up for myself. "Who else is gonna want you? You're old. You're lucky I'm even here." Those words broke something inside me. I stayed because I thought maybe if I just loved him harder, he'd change back into the man I first met. But he never did. He only got worse. The breaking point came the day I found out he had been seeing someone else, someone closer to his age. I discovered messages on his phone, where he was telling her the exact same things he once told me. "Good morning, beautiful. You're my world." My stomach sank. Everything had been a script. None of it was real. When I confronted him, he laughed. Actually laughed. He told me, "I never loved you. You were just convenient. You gave me what I needed." And then he left, just like that. By the time he was gone, I was thousands of dollars in debt, my heart completely shattered, and my self-worth stripped away. It took therapy, support from friends, and years of rebuilding before I realized the truth. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. I was manipulated, used, abused. And I share my story because I know there are other women out there who have been targeted the same way, who have been made to feel like their age, their loneliness, or their kindness makes them disposable. If that's you, please hear me when I say, it's not your fault. Monsters wear masks, and sometimes they look like the people who make us feel alive again. But the moment they start stealing your peace, your trust, your dignity, you have every right to walk away. When I met Daniel, he wasn't like the other guys I had dated. He was wounded. He carried this air of sadness, a weight from a past filled with betrayals and hardships. He'd tell me stories about his ex who had left him for another man, about a business partner who had swindled him out of his savings, about a childhood marked by neglect. Each story was a carefully woven tapestry of pain, and I found myself drawn to him, wanting to be the one to finally heal his heart. He was so charismatic, so open about his vulnerabilities, that I truly believed I was the only one who understood him, the only one who could offer him the unwavering love and support he deserved. My friends saw the charm, but I saw the cracks beneath the surface, and I was determined to be his strength. Our relationship unfolded like a rescue mission. Every time he seemed down, I'd rush to his side, offering comfort and reassurance. I'd listen for hours as he recounted his past hurts, validating his feelings, telling him he deserved better. I felt needed, important. He'd often say things like, "You're the only person who has ever truly understood me." And those words were like a drug. I built my entire world around making him feel safe and loved. constantly tiptoeing around his perceived fragility. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dynamic shifted. His victimhood became a shield, a weapon even. Every disagreement, every normal relationship conflict would somehow circle back to his past traumas. If I expressed that I felt neglected, he'd remind me of how his ex had abandoned him. If I was upset about a broken promise, he'd talk about the business partner who had stolen his dreams. It was like I was never allowed to have my own feelings, my own grievances. My emotions were always secondary to his carefully curated narrative of suffering. The gaslighting was insidious. He'd say hurtful things. Then when I'd react, he'd look at me with wounded eyes and ask, "How could you do this to me?" After everything I've been through, I started to question my own reactions, wondering if I was being insensitive, if I was the one causing him pain. I'd apologize for getting upset, for having needs, for simply expressing myself. I became an expert at reading his moods, anticipating his triggers, constantly editing myself to avoid hurting him. The breaking point came during a trivial argument about whose turn it was to do the dishes. I was tired and frustrated, and I simply said, "Daniel, I did them last night." His face crumpled, and his voice was barely a whisper. "I can't believe you'd bring up something so small when I'm still dealing with the anniversary of my father's death." It was a masterful stroke. Suddenly, my perfectly reasonable statement made me the villain, the insensitive partner who couldn't see past her own petty grievances to his profound pain. I immediately felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I apologized profusely, offering to do all the chores for the rest of the week. That night, as I lay in bed next to him, the weight of his manufactured sorrow pressing down on me, something shifted. For the first time, I saw his victimhood not as a genuine vulnerability, but as a carefully constructed cage. His pain was a performance, a tool he wielded with precision to control me, to silence my needs, to always be the one who needed coddling and forgiveness. The realization hit me with chilling force. I wasn't his savior. I was his captive, bound by the chains of his fabricated suffering. And the monster I had married wasn't broken. He was a master manipulator, expertly playing the victim to keep me exactly where he wanted me, under his thumb. I used to believe abuse was something that happened to other women, not me. I thought if a man loved you, he'd protect you. That's what I thought marriage was supposed to be. But the man I married taught me a different lesson, one that still haunts me. In the beginning, he was perfect. He opened doors for me, remembered little details, and made me feel like the most important woman in the world. My friends used to say I was lucky, and I believed it. The first time he raised his voice, I brushed it off. He had a stressful job, and I didn't want to make it worse. I told myself it was normal. Everyone argues. Everyone gets angry. But slowly, his temper became a shadow over our home. The first slap came on a quiet evening. I had cooked dinner, and he didn't like how the rice turned out. He threw his plate across the table, and when I said something back, his hand met my face before I even realized what was happening. I remember the sting, the ringing in my ear, but what I remember most was his eyes. Cold, almost detached, like he didn't even see me as his wife in that moment. He apologized later that night. He cried, said he didn't know what came over him, swore it would never happen again. He bought me flowers the next morning, and I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him, but the thing about the first slap is, it's never the last. After that night, every argument became dangerous. Sometimes it was shoving me into a wall. Sometimes it was grabbing my arm so tightly that I had bruises for days. And every time, he'd find a way to make it my fault. If you didn't talk back, if you didn't push my buttons, if you just listened, I started to live in silence. I walked on eggshells in my own home. I stopped talking to my friends because I didn't want them to see the truth. I smiled in family photos, hiding the makeup over my black eye. The scariest part wasn't even the bruises. It was how he made me believe I deserved them. He convinced me that no one else would ever love me, that leaving him would ruin my life. And after a while, I believed it. Years later, I look back and wonder why I stayed. The truth is, abuse doesn't start with fists. It starts with words, with control, with little cuts at your self-worth until you're too weak to leave. I survived him, but not without scars. Not all of them are visible. Some are stitched deep into my mind. Flinching at loud voices, feeling my heart race when someone raises their hand too quickly. When you marry a monster, the wedding photos don't tell the story. The story is written in whispers, in broken pieces of yourself, in the silence you carry when you can't tell the world what happens behind closed doors. And for anyone listening right now, thinking he only did it once, I need you to hear me. The first slap is never the last.